Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 horror film Malum. The film is co-written and directed by Anthony Di Blasi, and it stars Jessica Sula, Natalie Victoria, Monroe Klein, and Candice Coke. Now the film focuses on Jessica Sula's character, who is also called Jessica, who is a rookie police officer. And pretty much her first night on the job, she requests the last shift in a police station that essentially is closing down. So the whole place is abandoned, there's nobody left. She's really just there just to redirect people that might ring the station or turn up at the station because there's a new station opened up elsewhere. However, she's got an ulterior motive for being there, as a year previously, her father, who was a well-known police officer, and I think he was the chief, after saving the lives of three young women who were involved in a cult, essentially goes mad and kills a number of people in this police station before committing suicide himself. So she wants answers, and she thinks she may be able to get some of these answers alone in this police station. However, what she finds is, in actual fact, that the cult has bigger plans for her, so to speak. Right, what are my thoughts on Malum? Well, if that plot in any way sounds familiar, then you're right, it does sound familiar, because this really is a remake of the 2014 film called The Last Shift, or Last Shift, by the same director. Now, this is not unusual for directors or filmmakers to remake their earlier films. Now, I have to be honest, I haven't seen Last Shift. It's one of those films that I've always kind of had an interest in seeing. I'm aware of its existence. I've just never got around to checking it out. So I probably will after this film. But what are my thoughts on this one, Malum? Well, I think at times this film is quite effective in what it's trying to do. I think the setup is pretty decent. I think the performance, the central performance by Jessica Sula, is impressive because she's got to carry a big chunk of this film all on her own. Um, the abandoned police station is, a pretty effective setting. I mean, any abandoned building, if filmed correctly and lit correctly, can be pretty creepy, pretty, effective. And the abandoned police station certainly is. And it's a fairly slow build, and then once the proceedings start, so to speak, this can definitely get under your skin. There's some impressive visuals, there's some creepy visuals, there's a real sense of dread throughout this film that something really intense is going to continually happen. Does it deliver on that promise? That's debatable. I think this film had the potential to be considerably better. It's hard to compare it, like I said, to the other one because I haven't seen it. I don't know. Um, Obviously, if you're trying to remake a film or reimagine it, your aim is to obviously top your previous one. Judging by the scores that I can see, certainly on IMDb and things, that's certainly not the case. Well, certainly not now at the minute. So I'm not really 100% sure what the point of this was. Obviously, the director clearly wasn't happy with his first attempt, I'm guessing. So what we get here, like I say, it's at times pretty effective. I was impressed with the slow burn initially of the film. It was a great introduction to the film where we meet her father, sort of thing, and then the graphic violence that ensues because of him, that immediately kind of puts you on edge and kind of sets up what you hope is going to be a pretty intense and effective film. And it kind of disappointed me a little bit in that sense, but that's not to say that I thought this film was a bad film, because I don't think it's a bad film. I think what we end up with film is a film here that doesn't necessarily explain itself particularly well. Like this cult that's involved here, I think they could have done so much more with this cult and in explaining what their motivations are, what's their end goal. We obviously know they're evil. We know they're wanting to maybe summon something, but the film never really does a very good job of explaining that particularly well. It never really does a good job of explaining what this police officer's involvement is in it all. This whole like conspiracy where it potentially looks like so many people involved. It just doesn't necessarily, and I think if they'd have done that a bit better, it would have added to the sense of dread in the film, and the sense of horror, and the intensity of the film. At times, it's one of those films where you're watching it, you scratch your head a bit sometimes here and there, and you're kind of thinking, have I missed something here? And it's a shame. I just thought it could have been a bit clearer in that aspect. And again, her father's involvement in it all. Initially it's kind of explained away that he's some kind of hero saving these young women from the cult. Later on in the film, it gives a different explanation, but again, it doesn't effectively answer the questions that I had, and it's hard sometimes to explain these things in a review because you don't want to give away spoilers. I just thought it didn't particularly handle the narrative particularly well. What it did do particularly well, though, was, like I say, the horror aspects of this film, the visuals. I mean, there really are some quite graphic and intense visuals. At times, it gets a little bit frustrating because they kind of give you kind of fake scares. You know, things that she thinks she's seen and then she's not, and you know. So sometimes you're not exactly sure what it is you're watching, if she's imagining it, all that kind of stuff. It reminded me a little bit of that Ghost Stories as well. The story with Paul Whitehouse in it. I can't remember. Where he's kind of working as like a security guard in that, was it a bus station or something like that? It felt, a little bit like that, and I think they needed to tap in that a little bit more to kind of bring us into the film as an audience member and feel like we're there with her. And I think this film doesn't necessarily do that particularly well. And I think if it could have done that, drawn us in and made us feel like we're in that police station with her, I think this would have been a far more effective film. As it is certainly a decent watch. I did enjoy my time with it. I thought the effects were very effective at times. I thought the gore and the blood and all that kind of stuff when we got it was pretty well done and pretty effective. I thought the performances were good. It just at times frustrated you a little bit and made you scratch your head here and there because it wasn't explained particularly well. But overall, I think this is certainly worth checking out. I didn't go into this film with the baggage of watching the first one, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. I think if you're a big fan of the first film, The Last Shift, you might go into this not liking it really. I don't know. But I'd be interested to know in the comments for any of you guys that have seen the first one. Number one, is it worth checking out? And number two, which do you think is better, I suppose? So thank you very much for watching. I'll be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.